Emma Thompson stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror of her tiny Brooklyn apartment bathroom, wiping away the smudged mascara from another long day at the office. At 28, she was the epitome of the overworked millennial, juggling student loans, a barista side gig on weekends, and her full-time role as executive assistant to one of New York's most elusive billionaires, Alexander Hale. Alex, as he insisted his inner circle call him, was the CEO of Hale Tech, a cybersecurity empire that had skyrocketed during the pandemic. He was 35, devastatingly handsome in that effortless way. Dark hair always perfectly tousled, sharp jawline, and eyes like stormy oceans. But he was also a workaholic enigma, rarely seen outside boardrooms or his penthouse. Emma had been with the company for 2 years, starting as a temp and clawing her way up through sheer grit. She handled his schedules, his coffee runs, black, no sugar, and occasionally his dry cleaning. But personal conversations? Zilch. Until tonight. It was a Friday in late autumn, the kind where the New York sky hung heavy with rain clouds, threatening to unleash at any moment. Emma's phone buzzed as she was slipping into her pajamas, ready to binge-watch rom-coms and forget the week. The caller ID flashed, A. Hale, office. Her heart skipped. Calls after hours were rare, usually emergencies like a hacked client database. "Hello, Mr. Hale," she answered, trying to sound professional despite the fuzzy slippers on her feet. "Emma, I need you at my place. Now." His voice was clipped, urgent, but not panicked. "It's personal. I'll send a car." Personal. That word hung in the air like a red flag. She hesitated, glancing at the clock. 8:45 p.m. "Sir, is everything okay? If it's work-related." "It's not. Just come. Please." The "please" was new. Alex Hale didn't plead, he commanded. 30 minutes later, a sleek black Tesla pulled up outside her building, whisking her through the drizzling streets to his Upper East Side penthouse. The doorman nodded her in without a word, and the elevator shot up to the 50th floor. When the doors opened, Alex was pacing the expansive living room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering city skyline blurred by rain. He was in a tailored suit, tie loosened, a glass of scotch in hand. No tie. That was disheveled for him. "Emma, thank you for coming," he said, gesturing to the leather couch. "Drink." She shook her head, perching on the edge like she might bolt. "What's going on, Mr. Hale? You sounded off." He sighed, running a hand through his hair, and sat across from her. Up close, she noticed the faint stubble, the shadows under his eyes. "Call me Alex. And yeah, I'm off. Look, I wouldn't ask this if I had any other option, but I need a favor. A big one." Her mind raced. Cover for a meeting? Forge a signature? No, that didn't fit. Personal. Okay. My family's in town for the weekend. My parents, specifically. They're traditional. Old money from Boston, the whole 9 yards. They've been hounding me about settling down, especially since my ex-fiancée bailed last year. He paused, swirling his drink. "There's this gala tomorrow night, black tie, high society thing. My parents are hosting a pre-event dinner at their hotel suite, and they've made it clear, show up with a wife or don't show up at all." Emma blinked. "A wife? But you're not married." "No." "Exactly." He leaned forward, his gaze intense. "I need you to act like my wife. Just for one night. The dinner and the gala. We'll say we eloped quietly, work kept it under wraps. You know my schedule inside out. It'll be believable." Her jaw dropped. Act like his wife. This was straight out of those cheesy novels she read on the subway. Me. Why not hire an actress or something? I mean, I'm your assistant, not. Because you're real, Emma. You're smart, quick on your feet, and you already know everything about me. No one else could pull this off without it feeling fake. He set down his glass, his voice softening. I'll pay you 10 grand. And if it goes south, you can quit with a glowing reference and severance. No strings. 10 grand. That could wipe out half her loans. But pretending to be married? Touching him, laughing at his jokes, meeting his family? Her cheeks flushed at the thought. She'd always found him attractive. Who wouldn't? But this was crossing lines. This sounds insane. What if they ask questions? About us, our relationship. We'll prep. Tonight, if you say yes. I'll order food, Italian from that place on 5th you like. How did he know that? She must have mentioned it once. The rain picked up outside, pattering against the windows like a drum roll. Emma's mind whirled. Realistic. This was New York. Weirder things happened daily. But falling for her boss? No, that was fiction. She was practical, grounded. Still, the way he looked at her now, vulnerable, almost pleading, stirred something. Fine, she said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. One night. But we set ground rules. No unnecessary touching or anything. Deal. A ghost of a smile crossed his face, the first real one she'd seen. Thank you, Emma. You have no idea. As he poured her a glass of wine anyway, she wondered if she did. What started as a favor might just upend everything. Little did she know, as the storm raged outside, a different kind of tempest was brewing, one that would leave them both drenched in unexpected emotions. The rain had turned into a steady downpour by the time Emma agreed to stay. Alex ordered from Carbone, spicy rigatoni vodka, eggplant parm, and tiramisu, delivered in sleek black boxes that arrived faster than any Uber Eats she'd ever used. They sat at the massive marble island in his kitchen, city lights twinkling through the floor-to-ceiling glass like scattered diamonds. Okay, Alex said, popping the cork on a bottle of Barolo. Ground rules first, since you insisted. Emma nodded, accepting the glass he offered. The wine was rich, velvety, probably cost more than her monthly rent. 1. This is strictly professional. No weird vibes. Agreed. 2. No kissing. Or anything beyond hand, holding if absolutely necessary for appearances. He raised an eyebrow, amused. Noted. Though my mother will expect at least a peck on the cheek. She's very European about affection. Fine. Cheek only. She felt her face heat up anyway. 3. We stick to the story. We met at the company retreat in the Hamptons 2 years ago, kept it quiet because of work policies, eloped last summer in the Berkshires. Simple, believable. Perfect. I actually do have a place in the Berkshires, small cabin, nothing flashy. She laughed despite herself. Nothing flashy for a billionaire. Right. He grinned, that rare, genuine smile again. 4. If it gets uncomfortable, you say the word. We leave. No questions. Emma studied him. For someone so used to control, he was giving her an out. It made her soften, just a little. They spent the next 2 hours drilling details. Favorite foods, hers, avocado toast with chili flakes. His, steak tartare, childhood pets, her golden retriever Max, his childhood Labrador named Scout, how they proposed, he supposedly took her to the top of the Empire State Building at midnight, cliché, but romantic enough to satisfy his mom. They laughed over the absurdity of it, tension easing into something almost comfortable. By midnight, the rain had eased to a drizzle. Alex glanced at his watch. You should stay. Guest rooms made up. The car's gone, and it's pouring again. Emma hesitated. Staying over felt like crossing another invisible line, but the thought of trekking back to Brooklyn at 1 a.m. in wet clothes was worse. Fine. But separate rooms. Obviously. Obviously. He showed her to the guest suite, bigger than her entire apartment, with a king bed, rainfall shower, and a walk-in closet already stocked with fresh towels and a robe that smelled like cedar and money. She showered quickly, slipped into the robe, and tried not to think about how surreal this was. When she emerged, Alex was in the hallway, sleeves rolled up, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. I pulled some things for tomorrow. The stylist is coming at 10, dress, shoes, jewelry. You don't have to worry about anything. A stylist? Emma blinked. I was going to just wear something from my closet. He chuckled softly. Trust me, you need the full armor for this crowd. Mom will notice if the dress is off-season. She rolled her eyes but couldn't deny the flutter in her stomach. This is getting ridiculous. Maybe. He stepped closer, voice dropping. But thank you, Emma. Really. I don't ask people for help often. Their eyes met, and for a second, the air felt charged, like the storm outside had moved indoors. She broke it first, stepping back. Good night, Alex. Good night. She closed the door, heart pounding. This was just one night. One very long, very expensive night. The next morning arrived with crisp autumn sunlight streaming through the windows. Emma woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet voices. Alex on a call, probably sealing another multimillion-dollar deal before breakfast. At 10 sharp, the stylist arrived, a whirlwind of a woman named Lila, arms full of garment bags. She whisked Emma into the bedroom-turned-dressing room, unzipping bags to reveal gowns that made her gasp. Mr. Hale said classic, elegant, not too flashy, Lila explained, holding up a deep emerald silk number with a fitted bodice and flowing skirt. This one. It'll bring out your eyes. Emma slipped behind the screen, heart racing. The dress hugged her curves perfectly, the fabric cool against her skin. When she stepped out, Lila clapped. Alex, who had wandered in with fresh coffee, froze mid-step. The room went quiet. You look. He cleared his throat. Stunning. Emma met his gaze in the full-length mirror. The woman staring back looked like someone who belonged in his world, poised, radiant. For the first time, she didn't feel like the assistant who fetched his dry cleaning. Thanks, she said softly. Lila finished the look, diamond drop earrings, borrowed from the Hale family vault, strappy heels, and a clutch. By noon, they were ready. As they headed to the elevator, Alex offered his arm. Practice run. She took it, her hand resting lightly on his sleeve. His arm was warm, solid. Just remember the rules, she murmured. Cheek kisses only, he replied, but his eyes sparkled with something playful. The car waited downstairs, and as they stepped out into the cool air, a light mist began to fall again. The city buzzed around them, honking taxis, hurried pedestrians, but for a moment it felt like they were the only two people in it. Little did Emma know, the real test wasn't his parents or the gala. It was the way her heart skipped when he looked at her like she was more than just his assistant, like she was the one thing he hadn't planned for. And the night was only beginning. The black SUV glided through Manhattan traffic, rain tapping insistently on the tinted windows like impatient fingers. Emma sat beside Alex, her emerald gown pooling around her like liquid silk, the diamond earrings catching every passing streetlight. She kept her hands folded in her lap to hide the slight tremble, nerves, excitement, maybe both. Alex noticed. He reached over, gently covering her hand with his. You're doing great already. Just breathe. His touch was warm, steady. She didn't pull away. Easy for you to say. You've done galas since you were in diapers. True, he admitted. But I've never brought a date who actually knows how to handle my mother. Emma laughed, the sound breaking some of the tension. Great. Now I'm more terrified. They arrived at the Plaza Hotel, where the Hale family suite overlooked Central Park. The doorman opened the car door, umbrella ready. Alex stepped out first, then offered his hand. Emma took it, feeling the cool metal of the ring he'd slipped on her finger earlier, a simple platinum band with a single emerald to match the dress. For authenticity, he'd said. It felt heavier than it looked. Up in the private dining room, the table was set for 6. Crystal, silver, low floral arrangements of white roses and eucalyptus. Alexander Hale Sr. and Evelyn Hale waited with Alex's younger sister, Victoria, who was scrolling on her phone, bored already. The moment they entered, Evelyn's eyes lit up, then narrowed in assessment. Alexander, she said, rising gracefully in her navy Chanel suit. And this must be... Emma, Alex said smoothly, arm sliding around Emma's waist. The gesture felt natural, protective. My wife. Silence stretched for one heartbeat, 2. Then Evelyn's face softened into a surprised, delighted smile. Well, I'll be. You sneaky boy. Come here, darling. Emma was pulled into a perfumed hug that smelled of Chanel No. 5 and old money. Mr. Hale, tall, silver-haired, stern until he smiled, shook her hand firmly. Welcome to the family, Emma. About time this one settled down. Victoria arched a perfectly groomed brow. Eloped. Really? You hate surprises, big brother. Alex shrugged. Sometimes the best decisions are the impulsive ones. They sat, and the interrogation began, light, polished, but thorough. How did they meet? The Hamptons retreat story rolled off Emma's tongue effortlessly. When did he propose? Empire State Building at midnight, Evelyn sighed dreamily. Children. Alex fielded that one with a chuckle. We're taking our time. Emma relaxed inch by inch. She matched Evelyn's stories about Alex as a stubborn child, teased Victoria about her latest art gallery opening, even made Mr. Hale laugh with a dry observation about corporate boardroom politics. Alex watched her the whole time, a quiet pride in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Under the table, his knee brushed hers. Accident. Maybe. But when she didn't move away, he left it there, a small, secret anchor. After dessert, perfect creme brulee, Evelyn leaned in. You know, Emma, I worried he'd never find someone who could keep up with him. Work. Always work. But you seem real. Grounded. Emma felt a pang. Real. That was the irony, wasn't it? I try, she said softly. As the evening wound down, the group moved toward the ballroom downstairs for the gala proper. The rain had picked up again, drumming against the hotel windows. Alex offered Emma his arm once more. You were incredible, he murmured as they descended the grand staircase. They bought it completely. Good, she replied, but her voice wavered just a fraction. Because the lines were blurring faster than she'd expected. The touch of his hand, the way he looked at her like she belonged here, the warmth in her chest when he smiled. The ballroom was a sea of tuxedos and gowns, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. A string quartet played something soft and romantic. Couples swayed on the dance floor. Alex turned to her. May I? She hesitated only a second. One dance. For appearances. He led her out, hand firm on her lower back. The music was slow, a classic waltz. He pulled her close enough to feel the heat of him through his tuxedo, to smell his cologne mixed with the faint rain on his shoulders from earlier. You know, he said quietly, this doesn't feel like pretending. Emma's breath caught. She looked up, meeting those stormy eyes. Alex. Before she could finish, he dipped his head, lips brushing her temple in a kiss so gentle it felt like a promise. Not on the cheek. Not quite on the lips. Somewhere dangerously in between. The room spun around them, lights, laughter, music, but all she could feel was him. And as the song ended, neither of them moved to step apart. The night was far from over, and whatever this was, it was no longer just one night. The gala swirled on around them, laughter echoing off gilded walls, champagne flutes clinking like tiny bells, but Emma and Alex remained locked in place on the dance floor long after the music had shifted to something upbeat. His hand stayed low on her back, hers rested against his chest, feeling the steady thump of his heart beneath the crisp shirt. Emma, he said quietly, voice barely audible over the orchestra. We should talk. She nodded, throat tight. Somewhere quieter. He guided her through the crowd, nodding politely to acquaintances, until they reached a set of French doors leading to a private balcony overlooking Central Park. The rain had returned in earnest, falling in silver sheets against the night. A small overhang provided shelter, but the cool mist still kissed their skin. Alex closed the doors behind them, muffling the party to a distant hum. The city lights blurred through the downpour, turning Manhattan into a watercolor dream. He leaned against the railing, hands in his pockets, looking out at the storm. I didn't plan this. Emma wrapped her arms around herself against the chill. The rain. Or us. He turned, eyes searching hers. Both. Neither. I thought this would be simple. One night. Convince my parents I'm not a lost cause. Pay you for your time. Go back to normal Monday morning. But it's not simple, she finished softly. No. He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the raindrops caught in his lashes. It's not. Because tonight, watching you charm my mother, laughing with Victoria, dancing with me, it felt real. More real than anything I've had in years. Emma's heart hammered. Alex, we agreed. I know what we agreed. His voice dropped, rough with something raw. But I'm standing here in the rain with you, in a dress that costs more than most people's rent, and all I can think about is how much I don't want this to end at midnight. She looked away, toward the glowing park below. I'm your assistant. You're my boss. This is complicated. Was, he corrected. Tonight proved something. You belong here, not because of the gown or the gala, but because of who you are. Smart. Kind. Brave enough to say yes to the craziest favor ever asked. A small, shaky laugh escaped her. I said yes because 10 grand could change my life. And because maybe I wanted to see what it felt like to be the woman on your arm. And, he asked, voice barely above a whisper. She met his gaze. It felt like coming home. The words hung between them, heavy and honest. Alex reached out slowly, brushing a damp strand of hair from her cheek. His fingers lingered, warm against her cool skin. Emma, he murmured. May I kiss you? For real this time. No rules. No pretense. Her breath hitched. Every logical part of her screamed caution. Contracts, HR policies, the risk of heartbreak. But the rain, the lights, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. It drowned out the noise. Yes, she whispered. He closed the distance in one gentle motion, cupping her face with both hands. The kiss started soft, tentative, almost reverent, like he was afraid she'd vanish. But when she sighed against him, fingers curling into his lapels, it deepened. Rain fell around them, misting their skin, but neither noticed. His lips were warm, tasting faintly of champagne and something uniquely him. Her arms slid around his neck, his wrapped around her waist, pulling her flush against him. Time stretched. The city faded. It was just them, the storm, and the realization that one night had become something neither could walk away from. When they finally parted, foreheads resting together, breathing hard, Alex smiled, small, almost shy. That wasn't part of the plan. Good, Emma said, voice thick with emotion. Because plans are overrated. He laughed softly, pressing another kiss to her temple. What now? She glanced back toward the ballroom lights. We go back in there. Finish the night. Smile for the cameras. Then, we figure out Monday. Together. Together, he echoed, like it was the easiest word he'd ever said. Hand in hand, they stepped back inside, damp and glowing, the rain still clinging to them like a secret. Heads turned as they re-entered, whispers followed. But Emma didn't care. For the first time, she wasn't pretending. And as Alex's thumb traced slow circles on the back of her hand, she knew, whatever came next, real dates, awkward office conversations, maybe even telling his parents the truth, it would be worth it. Because sometimes, the best stories don't start with a proposal. They start with a plea, a rainy night, and two people brave enough to say yes. Sunlight filtered through the half-drawn blinds of Alex's penthouse bedroom, painting soft gold stripes across the white sheets. Emma woke slowly, disoriented at first, the bed too big, the pillows too perfect, the faint scent of rain and Alex's cologne lingering on the linens. Then memory rushed back, the balcony, the kiss, the way they'd stumbled inside laughing and breathless, shedding shoes and pretense along the way. She turned her head. Alex was already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her with a quiet intensity that made her stomach flip. He was shirtless, hair tousled, looking younger and more vulnerable than the CEO she'd known for 2 years. Morning, he said, voice low and rough from sleep. Morning. She pulled the sheet higher, suddenly shy. Last night had been real, too real, and now daylight made everything feel exposed. He reached out, brushing his knuckles gently along her arm. Regrets. She searched his face. No. You. Only that we have to go back to the office tomorrow. He smiled faintly. HR is going to have a field day. Emma laughed softly. We should talk about that. Ground rules. Again. Later, he said, leaning in to kiss her forehead. Right now, coffee. And breakfast. I make a mean omelet. He slipped out of bed, pulling on sweatpants that hung low on his hips, and disappeared toward the kitchen. Emma stayed a moment longer, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't supposed to happen. One night. One favor. 10 grand. But somewhere between the rain and the gala lights, the script had rewritten itself. She found one of his button-downs in the closet, soft cotton, smelling like him, and padded out barefoot. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and sizzling butter. Alex stood at the stove, sleeves rolled up, focused like he was closing a deal instead of flipping eggs. He glanced over, eyes darkening as he took her in, his shirt skimming her thighs, hair messy, lips still a little swollen from kisses. "You look better in that than I do." She hopped onto a stool at the island. "Flattery will get you everywhere." "Good to know." He slid a mug of coffee toward her, black with a splash of oat milk, exactly how she liked it. How long had he noticed that detail? They ate in comfortable silence, the city humming below them. Rain had started again, gentle now, tapping the windows like a soft metronome. After breakfast, they moved to the living room couch. Alex pulled her feet into his lap, massaging absently. "So, about tomorrow." Emma sighed. "We can't just walk in holding hands. People will talk. Policies exist for a reason." "I know." He looked serious now. "I talked to legal last month, hypothetically, about dating someone in the company. As long as it's disclosed and there's no direct reporting line, it's allowed." "But you're my EA." "Exactly." She chewed her lip. "I don't want to be the girl who slept her way to the top." "You wouldn't be." His voice was firm. "You've earned every promotion. If anything, I should step back. Promote you to project manager like I've been meaning to. Remove the conflict." She raised an eyebrow. "You've been meaning to?" He shrugged, sheepish. "For 6 months. But I liked having you close." "Selfish, I know." Emma studied him. "This is fast." "It is," he agreed. "But it doesn't feel wrong." She nodded slowly. "Then we do it right. Disclosure first. Separate offices if needed. No special treatment. Deal." He lifted her hand, kissed her knuckles. "And tonight, say, no pressure. Just us." She smiled. "Okay." The rest of Sunday passed in a quiet bubble, walks in the drizzle around the block, takeout Thai, movies on the couch. They talked about everything. Her student loans, he wanted to help, she insisted she'd handle it, his fear of repeating his parents' cold marriage, her dream of starting a small non-profit someday. No masks. No roles. Monday morning arrived too soon. Emma dressed in her usual office clothes, blazer, slacks, sensible heels, feeling strangely like an imposter in her own skin. Alex drove them both in, parking in the executive garage. They took the private elevator up, hands brushing but not quite holding. At the office, everything looked the same. Glass walls, humming servers, assistants rushing with tablets. But nothing felt the same. They stepped into his office together. He closed the door. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." He pulled her into a quick, fierce kiss, last one before the world intruded, then stepped back. "I'll call HR. You go to your desk. We'll handle this like adults." She nodded, heart racing. "See you in the meeting at 10? "Wouldn't miss it." As she walked out, she felt eyes on her, curious glances from the bullpen. Whispers would start soon. But for the first time, she didn't care. Because whatever came next, paperwork, gossip, even awkward family dinners with the truth, she knew one thing: the rain had washed away the pretense. What remained was real. And real was worth fighting for. 3 months had passed since that rainy weekend in late autumn. Winter had settled over New York like a crisp blanket, snow dusting the sidewalks, holiday lights twinkling along Fifth Avenue, the city moving at its usual relentless pace. But for Emma and Alex, time felt different. Slower in the best moments, electric in others. The HR disclosure had gone smoother than expected. A private meeting, signed forms, a quiet reassignment. Emma moved to a new role as senior project manager on the innovation team, reporting to someone else. No fanfare, no drama. Just 2 adults handling their lives like grown-ups. The office gossip peaked for a week, whispers in the break room, raised eyebrows at the coffee machine, then faded. People had their own lives to worry about. Alex's parents took the truth better than anticipated. Over a tense Sunday brunch at their Boston brownstone, Alex had laid it all out. The favor, the gala, the unexpected fall. Evelyn had stared for a long moment, then reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. "I knew something was different that night. You looked at each other like you'd been waiting years to find one another." Mr. Hale had simply nodded, gruff but approving, better honest than playing house forever. Victoria, ever the dramatic one, had rolled her eyes and declared, "Finally!" I was tired of pretending I believed the elopement story. Now, on a clear January evening in 2026, the city sparkled under fresh snow. Emma stood on the rooftop of Alex's building, private access, string lights draped along the railing, a small heater keeping the chill at bay. She wore the emerald coat he'd bought her for Christmas, the same color as that first gown. Alex had texted her to meet him up here after work. No explanation. Just, trust me. She heard the door open behind her and turned. He stood there in a dark wool coat, snowflakes melting in his hair, holding a small velvet box. Her breath caught. "Emma," he said, stepping closer. The city hummed below them, taxis honking, distant sirens, but up here it was just the two of them and the quiet winter night. "I thought about doing this at the Empire State Building," he continued, a small smile tugging at his lips. Recreate the fake proposal story. But that felt wrong. This started in the rain, outside boardrooms and galas. I wanted to begin, somewhere real. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, platinum band, a single emerald flanked by 2 diamonds. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. "Emma Thompson," he said, voice steady but thick with emotion, "you said yes to the craziest favor of my life. Now I'm asking you to say yes to the rest of it. Not for one night. For every night. Marry me. For real this time." Tears pricked her eyes, warm against the cold air. She looked at the ring, then at him, the man who'd once been just her boss, then her pretend husband, now the person she couldn't imagine mornings without. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, laughing through tears. "Yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, perfect fit, and pulled her into his arms. The kiss was slow, deep, tasting of winter air and promise. Snow fell gently around them, catching in their hair like confetti. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you, Emma. I think I did even before the gala." "I love you too," she said. "Even when you asked me to fake marry you." He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Best bad idea I ever had." They stayed up there for a while, wrapped in each other, watching the city lights reflect off the snow. No rush. No pretense. Just them. Later, back in the penthouse, they curled up on the couch with hot chocolate, planning quietly. Small wedding in the Berkshires next fall, maybe, just family and close friends. A honeymoon somewhere warm. A future that included late nights at the office, lazy Sundays, and maybe, someday, kids who would never believe their parents' story started with a desperate plea and a rain-soaked kiss. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing New York in quiet possibility. Inside, 2 people who'd stumbled into love were finally, fully home. And somewhere in the city that never sleeps, another story was probably beginning. Because sometimes, the most unexpected nights become the ones that last forever.